What's up guys, you got Crave here with a quick review of Course from Fish Labs. Now, if you're into space sims, a more recent release in the same genre will probably be Everspace 2 even though it's in early access. Now with that being said, let me do a quick summary now as I do in all my videos. Course is not Everspace and that it has a workable story and solid systems melded with Tokyo Drift and fantasized assassin-like mechanics. Now, if you want to know more or understand why I said that, let's look at it from the three usual aspects, which are gameplay, story, and graphics. The graphics look pretty standard for a space sim, but I don't mean that in a way where it looks dated or bad. It's just that if you played recent sims or previewed them even here on YouTube, then Chorus looks just okay. The UI is clean, weapon effects are pretty good, and the use of the main character's powers or rights, as they're called, is functional and not distracting. There is an element of polish to it with the graphical design they intended. Now, I don't feel like the UI design or any other elements like laser effects are disconnected from the overall gameplay. The only exception from a graphical standpoint would be when you see cutscenes play out where the movements, design, and textures don't seem to match what's going on in, well, basic cockpit gameplay. There is a lot of it that feels like it produces that floaty effect when you view your main character as she goes through her scenes. Thankfully, it's not terrible, but it is something you notice. In terms of environments, the variety is something that's either lacking or just right. If you play a lot of sim games or play a lot of games in general, then the scenery may become stale very fast for you. Sure, backgrounds change as you progress the story, but to me it didn't seem like a whole lot, and revisiting areas doesn't help in the graphical aspect. However, I do feel that this part works from a gameplay point of view as they did this well in terms of helping with the delivery of the story. Now, if you're not bothered by limited biomes in games or you don't play a lot of space sims, then the design in Chorus will be just fine. If there's anything in Chorus that will be frustrating from a graphical perspective is the way it handles quest markers. I get that Fish Labs probably didn't want to get or deliver a messy screen, but sometimes the quest markers disappear too fast or they're not clear on where you should be going at times. One more thing about graphics is the way the games run pretty smoothly in Ultrawide 1440, but there will be a small amount of cutscenes where you see black bars on the sides. Now, I mean it hardly happens that you get surprised when it does. Now, from a sound perspective, the interface and weapon effects are just about right in this regard. I prefer a game like Everspace 2 in this respect. It's punchy and feels like a space sim through and through, but there's nothing stellar about it. Now, the sound design for scenes and the background music is just, well, to me, it's top notch. I really feel like the music just runs with the gameplay. There is an epic touch to it, and it becomes more and more obvious as you get closer to the endgame.
We shall
prevail.
Kill them. Area secure.
Nice reward after a skirmish. I could still.
Let's get straightforward here. The plot in Chorus is very straightforward and simple. So I suppose that lessens its value, but to me it didn't matter because I found it enjoyable. The thing about Chorus is that it knows what it's trying to do, much like the way Fish Labs designed the whole look and feel of the game. Now, the whole title didn't waste its time with things to give that a complete open world game would do. So Fish Labs basically had a goal and they decided to work towards it. Sure, there are side stories which lead to side quests, but they feel smaller in scope and more like they help with the gameplay aspect via a reward system. It's also because of these side quests that you don't need to earn or save up so much money or credits to upgrade your ship. Now, the rewards from side quests are substantial, although some upgrades are best bought from hangars. So it's a good balance. If you do side quests, you get some hefty rewards or some upgrades for your ships, but eventually you'll have to save some money for the highest form of upgrades. The main plot is about Nara and her journey to redeem and rediscover herself as she faces a galaxy-wide threat. Now, she travels with Forza, her ship companion, who appears to be an advanced AI. Now, the short adventure has no surprises, at least if you played a lot of story-driven games or if you read a lot. Now, however, what helps to elevate the story is the voice acting and the background music. Much of the other characters you meet feel familiar, and the way the plot unfolds is samey as mentioned, but the interactions and struggles of Nara and Forza are interesting enough. The plot is also just on point and it doesn't drag on for too long. It took me about 15 to 18 hours to get this done, but I'm guessing this might be less than 10 hours for players that don't like to mess around too much. So I would say the plot length is just about right for what Fish Labs wanted to accomplish. Now, this is the best part of course. If you played Sims before, it has the somewhat similar feel. You have inertia kicking in with your movements, dogfights with multiple enemies, being able to customize your ship loadout, and attempting to take down Star Destroyer class ships. Yeah, it's all in. Now, what differentiates cores are the powers or rights of Nara and the Tokyo Drift system. I feel that these two aspects have heavily affected my appreciation for this game. Now, there are two notable ones. As I mentioned, the drift system, and the other one is the hunt right or the hunt power of Nara. The drifting part is something you see in most space sims through inertia, but it's not pronounced or a mechanic in itself. Through Nara's ship Forza, they can maintain direction movement as in drifting, which can allow for some pretty cool movement kills. I personally love this when being used in open space, but not so much in the tighter areas of the game. It allows for you to basically just fly alongside oncoming targets and flank them while firing your weapons. This allows for some more what I would describe as continuous action, especially if you time it with quick booster thrusts to keep your momentum. I'll admit that I didn't find it easy to execute, but it's fun when you get to do it. Nara has a few other powers in the game, like her Rite of Spear ability, which just lets you smash into targets with Forza, but the hunt ability is really something that makes dogfighting ridiculously easy and made this game lean more towards in the Space Wizards territory. Now, you know how it can be in space sims and dogfighting, where you're always trying your best to time and lock onto enemy fighters. Now, the hunt ability, it basically ports you directly behind the enemy, giving you the opportunity to be in a prime position to deal damage. Now, if your weapons are upgraded and the enemy isn't an elite type, it's almost like an assassinate ability. Now, as with most of Nara's powers, this is a limited ability, but it greatly reduces the fatigue introduced by positioning concerns in space sim dogfights. In terms of the other mechanics, they're pretty standard as I mentioned. One thing I want to point out is around quest triggers. I mentioned earlier in the graphical section where the quest markers would disappear. Here, there are those moments when the quests don't trigger when you approach a certain area. Basically, loading a save file will resolve that, but it's one small annoyance I just wanted to point out. All in all though, the powers coupled with the drifting mechanic enhance what is already pretty solid gameplay in this game. So in summary, it's basically an AA game, and I had a lot of fun with this one. Course is basically a release where Fish Labs had a goal and decided to commit to it. They got the standard space sim template and enhanced it with their own flavor, and it resulted in a very solid game. It appears to be very deliberate in the amount of content it has and executed well in the areas it was committed to. If you like story-driven standard space sim systems with cool but quote-unquote unrealistic movement, then Course is definitely a game you should check out. I have no regrets with this one. Thanks for checking this out, guys. I'll talk to you soon.